Hey guys, so before I continue with this video, I would like to just put in a little bit of a disclaimer. So all this information is based on our experience and what we've experienced here in Sweden, and the information might vary depending on where you stay or come from in Sweden. So if that works for you, let's get to the video. So it's just me today. I'd like to first of all say thank you to all our subscribers and those who have joined us and followed us along the way. Thank you for all your comments and all your suggestions. Keep them coming. Love reading them. So today we are going to cover a bit of an information video. We've had a lot of requests on how the schools work here, some of the processes. You know, some people are interested in moving to Sweden and you know, they just want a bit of info. And before we came here, there was an extensive amount of research that I went through to get here. You know, lots of admin, lots of paperwork, and just trying to find things. What about school? What about SFI? You keep hearing about this thing called SFI. Where do you learn Swedish? How do you do it? What is this local commune? How do I sort out border lines? So there's so many different questions you have when you're moving to a new country, and that's why we figured it was a good idea to put something together, almost like an information pack, essentially. So this is going to be a bit of a long video, but the intention here is to give you all the information you need. And you know, there's especially an influx of people coming here now at the moment to Skellefteå, due to the fact that Northvolt is bringing in a lot of foreigners at this stage. So I would like to first cover schools. I feel that we've had actually quite a few requests on schools here in Sweden and how it works, and I'm actually quite excited to discuss this one because I find the schooling system here super cool. I wish I had gone through school in Sweden, to be very honest. So some information on how to get your kids into school and things like that, I think that is important. So when you actually know you're going to now move to Sweden and you have your dates and your tickets booked, you're ready to go, that is the best time to actually contact the school in your local commune. So if you're moving to Sweden, obviously if your ticket is booked, you know where you're going, whether it be Stockholm, Skellefteå, Norsjö, wherever you plan on going. Each of these parts of Sweden are basically counties, and each individual county has its own commune. So ours is Skellefteå commune, where Stockholm would have Stockholm commune, and so on and so forth. So in saying that, each commune has its own basically its own website and its own communication source and information. Also different information on the schools and the healthcare in that area, etc, etc. So that is why it's important to know where you're going to go in order to determine who you're going to contact, because Skellefteå commune is who I needed to contact to arrange the schooling for my kids. So when I did contact them, I went onto their websites. I got a bit of information on Skellefteå commune and where the schools are, and then I did a bit of research and looked at the schools around my where I planned to stay. And in doing that, I reached out to them. I said, listen, I'm moving to Sweden. My kids are English speaking. What do I do? And basically how the process went from there is you would register your kids through the commune. You will receive a form that will use their birth dates in the beginning, because you don't get your personal number from Skatteverket until probably 8 weeks or more after your arrival in Sweden. So they assist you get the kids into school by just using their birth dates. And you would need to specify on that form when the kids are planning on starting. So that is why you need to know when you are arriving, because you need to give the school a start date, because they actually prepare everything for you once you've registered your kids into the system. So how this planned out, so before I left for Sweden, I was still sitting in South Africa stressing. Before we left, I registered the kids, and then upon arrival I had a date where I met up with a person that is sort of allocated to your kids, and they let you know all this beforehand. So they set up a meeting, a day and time. You take your kids with you and they meet your kids, and they discuss sort of where you're at and what schools you've selected. And basically this gentleman gave my daughter her bus pass and said, okay, cool. Before we even get into any of the top 3 schools you picked here, the first thing they do is they send your kids on it's like an 8-week prep course. So this course is called Ankomsten, and basically it's an 8-week prep school for kids that are already in school, so year 1 upwards basically. So I'm not talking about preschool children. So this helps the kids integrate into the Swedish schools, because you don't have, you can send your kids to an English school, yeah, there are such things. They are normally quite fully, they're normally quite full, it's hard to get them in, so the waiting lists are quite long. They're also a little bit further away, so wouldn't necessarily be your local school depending on where you stayed. For us, I think the nearest English school I think is in Skellefteå maybe, or Umeå. So it was a bit far where we stay in Birchrisk, so it was better to just go for a local school. And the schools cater so well for children who speak English. They can go to the English International Skolan, but it's fine for the kids to just go straight into mainstream school here, because they cater really well for English speaking kids. You would still need to learn Swedish, and you are still doing your work and studying in Swedish, but the teachers will explain in English and help where they can. It's not always easy, because there is still the language barrier, but you know, the kids seem to integrate pretty well, and my daughter has actually integrated quite well, and it's a great way for them to actually learn the language and just integrate well into Sweden, for that matter. So Ankomsten. Now Ankomsten is the 8-week prep that I mentioned. Now in this 8-week course, the kids are transported. Our course was actually in Skellefteå, which is about an hour-ish away from where we stay. And they arranged transport, taxis, all those things. They came, they fetched Madison from our home, took her to Birchrisk, took another bus to Skellefteå, and you know, all this is covered as part of the local schooling. And I find that absolutely amazing, because you know, it is quite a distance for someone who's just gotten here to travel, and it was so nice to have that help and know that your kids are fine. You know, and then they go to school, they get even at Ankomsten and now in her current school as well, they're catered for. They have they have beautiful meals every day. I mean, I think they eat healthier and better food than most of us every day. They get food at school, they get transport to school. Uniforms are not necessary in Sweden. Kids don't wear uniforms here. And the schooling they do in that 8-week period is basically a crash course in Swedish. And they cover a little bit of math and English and things like that as well. So I know it was a very basic sort of school prep, and then it just helps get a good idea of where they are in the level of their schooling. So the reason they go to Ankomsten is to prepare them, but also to help the schools and teachers determine where your kids' level of education is. So that's essentially what we did and what Madison had done. And moving from there, when it was time for her to join school, they knew, okay, cool, she must go into year 6. So how the schooling grades work, yeah, they don't really work in grades. You know, it would be grade 1, grade 2 in South Africa, but yeah, they speak in years. So Madison was put in year 5, and she's now moving into year 6. The beginning of the school year starts in August and ends in June. So for those like us in South Africa, your school year normally starts January, ends in December. It works differently here. So if you're thinking you're going to be helping your kids, starting them in January, don't think that, because the school year starts in August. So that is how the integration and all that had worked. And something that's also very nice is, so once Ankomsten is done and she's now joined the main school in Bertrisk, it's been very nice knowing that she's still got transport. Schooling is free. It's no secret that Sweden has got high taxes, but in looking at the schooling system and how well they feed the children and how great their education has been, it sort of makes you feel happy to pay your taxes, if that makes sense. So then something else I'd like to touch on is how the reports seem to work. So what we're used to seeing is, you know, you get an A in your test or a B in your test and cool, you passed. Great. That's how I've always known school. I'm still trying to get my head around how they do it here. It works in a completely different system. It's like E's and D's and all these weird and wonderful things and levels of achieved. And so you be prepared to not quite understand your children's reports for the first little while. You might need some help. I know I do. So I'm still getting my head around that one. But they do comment, and at least it helps me. If it's green, I'm like, okay, cool. Things seem to be going fine. Then something that's super, super cool is in Sweden you have summer holidays. Now this is something we're not really used to. I mean, you get some holidays in December because it's Christmas in South Africa, but the summer holiday thing is a completely new thing to us. So the kids, they broke up around 20th of June-ish, and they've been on holiday for what feels like a year. They go back in August only, and it's something like 2-3 months holiday, and everybody is just on holiday. You just see campers and RVs everywhere. So that is it's quite a nice break for the kids, and it's basically their year-end holidays, and then they will start their new year August coming up. So that's a good idea of how the primary school works. So my daughter's in primary school. So this is what I've covered is primary level. So year 5, 6, things like that. Something else I'd like to touch on is preschool. So my kids are different ages. My daughter's 12, my son is 4. So my son is in preschool. So I had to get him into a preschool. And I did it very much like I did with my daughter for going through Skellefteå Kumon. So how the preschool works is it's not free like the high schools or primary schools. So basically what you do is you register a space, and the cost for your preschools is based upon your income, your level of income. So obviously the more you earn, the more you pay, but it's the more you earn as a household, not as a person per se. So that is how the payment on that works, and then it works basically on an hour basis or a daily basis. So you've got X amount of hours a week that your child goes into school, and you register the schedule on an app. So every week I have to say, okay, cool, my son is going to be in school on these days between this time and this time. And that's basically how it works. They also get fed at school, and very well catered for. They've got amazing toys and activities, and the teachers are wonderful and also very obliging in English as well. And you can see they really care about the kids. I mean, the kids just love school. It's beautiful, it's fun. It's like walking into an IKEA kids section. That's what the preschool looked like. So yeah, something I had to prepare myself for though is we weren't used to this level of cold here. So the kind of clothes we needed to send with my son, for example, you get these like little snow jumper suits and the boots and mittens, and these things are necessary. So it's probably a good idea if your son or your child is going to start a preschool here. Just make note that these are the kind of clothes that they would need. It's these like heavy snow jumpsuits and things because it's pretty cold. So I've covered quite a lot of what the schooling entails. You will get a lot of this information on your local commune's website. So if you're going to, for example, stay in Skellefteå, you'll go into the Skellefteå Commune website, and a lot of that information is under schooling. You can even see some of the menus of what they're feeding your kids. The information I didn't find there was the 8-week prep. I think that's where I'm going to leave it off now for school. Leave your questions and things, suggestions even in the comment section, and I'll happily try and cover and answer as much of it as I can. So, for those wondering where my husband is, he's behind the camera. If you hear chewing, he's eating M&Ms. So, just a heads up. So the next thing we're going to cover is SFE. So, what is SFE? So, SFE is it's Swedish for immigrants. So it's actually something that is run by the Swedish government, and it's a way to help immigrants integrate into Swedish society and learn the language, and this is all done free of charge. So how do you start your SFE? So what you will do, the same local commune I mentioned for the schooling is also where you will go to contact to arrange SFE for your household. So what's nice about SFE is it doesn't matter if you are completely clueless in how to speak Swedish, if you've never learned a single word in it, you can start there, or you can be an expert. It really caters across the board there. So what we did is I contacted our local commune, and I said, okay, cool, we have got a bit of knowledge in Swedish. So they started us on, we managed to do an online course because we are a bit far out on a farm. We managed to take our courses remotely. So we're actually still busy with that now, and we're learning Swedish. So, but a lot of the times what you will do is you'll actually go into a school and attend classes. I think it's like an 8-week class, and you'll go and you'll do, I think, you'll do a couple of hours a day in a class and learn Swedish. And it's a great way to practice because there's many immigrants all doing it with you, and you're all learning. So yeah, it's actually fun. And even the online courses, there are a lot of people that are learning with you, and you get to communicate with them. So yeah, it's been great. So a word of advice: if you are planning on coming to Sweden, make use of things like Duolingo or Memrise, because those are really, really handy apps to learn Swedish. Venant and I did it for about a year before we came here already, just to get a good understanding of the basics of Swedish, and just to, you know, so we didn't come here clueless of how to speak to anybody. We, out of respect, we feel that if you're going to move to a country, you should learn the language. You know, you don't necessarily have to speak Swedish, yeah, but it certainly does help, and I think it's just also it's a sign of respect on our part. You know, that's how we feel. So how it works is, once you've registered, you will get access to classes. So you will attend your classes. In our case, it was online, so I'm going to speak from that perspective. So we would attend our online classes. Our teachers are absolutely lovely, amazing, amazing people, and they are so open and willing to help you. And they, you know, I came up with a million questions, because by the time I joined SFE, I was at the stage where I wanted to understand the grammar and, you know, the things that didn't make sense in word structures and orders. And, you know, that she was so patient and sat with me through all of it, and I wrote paragraphs and things like that, and she really marked everything. So really, if you're planning on learning Swedish, it's the teachers are incredible, and you will not be sorry to join SFE. So one of the programs that we use, once you're attending the classes in the course, you will also get access to, and I speak from experience. I don't know if it's the same throughout Sweden, but our experience is we were given access to Libellunas. On this is where we pretty much run our course. So you have your classes, but you also have your self-study material. And on this is where you will just basically practice what you're learning in class, and also practice for class, as well as get your homework and things like that, like write a paragraph on your hometown, you know, in Swedish, and then your teacher gets it and she marks it and she comments on it, and you have an opportunity to resubmit it, correct it after their marking. So it's been a really, really nice learning curve, and I'm excited to do it. You know, it's really fun. It's nice to learn a new language. One thing I can certainly say is, if I ever had any doubt in how SFE would be for me, we have met quite a lot of immigrants here in Sweden, and I tell you, they speak Swedish fluently. So we have hope that we will get there as well. So far so good. So that's where we are with our SFE, and again, if you have any questions regarding how the process works, or, you know, if you just need some advice on this, please feel free to comment in the comment section. I'm happy to try and answer any questions you might have regarding this. But yeah, I think I've pretty much covered the ins and outs of SFE. And next up we have 1170. Now 1170 is it's basically 1177, right? That is the site and where you will go to for all your health, your medical insurance stuff. So 1170 is part of, that is where you will make your appointments, read your medical journals. That is pretty much your app website to making appointments and going to see a doctor and getting information for doctors. It's the key source and pretty much everything you need to know about the healthcare system here. So How is the healthcare system in Sweden? Well, that is very easy to answer. It's bloody incredible. You know, coming from South Africa, medical, we didn't really have we had government hospitals, but it's not something you go to there. So we almost sort of forced into taking private medical insurance, and it's really expensive. And in coming here and going to the health system, looking at the health system here and the hospitals here, it even exceeds something we paid a lot of money for in South Africa, and that is government hospitals here. You know, the health system here is amazing, truly. It is clean, it is jacked. It's on the doctors are incredible. I mean, you've got amazing doctors and nurses, and everyone takes the time to ask the questions. You know, they want to understand your problem, and honestly, I can't fault it. So how this all works is, once you've now arrived in Sweden, you're part of the system, you will make an appointment at a doctor using Allowance. Alright, so you log on to the app, you make an appointment, and you get a day and time for a doctor. So you make your appointment, you go there. As an adult, you will pay 200 crown for your appointments. And should you need to go to any hospital or anything like that, that's 100 crown a day. Now, in that 200 crown for your appointments, pretty much everything is covered. So if you are going for blood tests or x-rays or anything at that point in time, it's all covered under the 200 crown you've already paid. Now, something that's also quite handy to know, and this is something I learned quite recently, is you get a free card. So after going to a doctor a certain amount of times, for every time you go, you basically get like a little stamp and a tick. You've come this amount of times, you've paid this amount. Now you can get a free card, and that free card is valid until the following year. It's super cool because then you don't have to pay the 200 crowns every time you go to see the doctor. Once you've made your appointment and you've seen your doctor, you've paid your fee, you will have access to your records and all the comments of your doctors on Allowance as well. So I am able to follow up on blood tests, x-rays, diagnosis. I can also get my prescriptions. All these things are on the Allowance website. So under your profile, you'll be able to access all this information and also make your appointments. And you can also have self-referrals. So for example, it's called remis, and you can refer yourself to a doctor maybe in a different county or a specific field of doctor. You would send in your motivation and make an appointment with them. So what else will be, if you have children, what else will be under your profile will also be your kids if they're under 13. And so what will happen is you will make their appointment for them there, you will get the medical records for them there. So basically you can act as an agent for your children as well. So it really does help in managing your family's health and making appointments and things like that. So Allowance is mainly for your, like, I need to make an appointment sometime soon because this is a problem I might want to have checked. However, if there is an emergency, someone fell and broke their leg or cut off their hand or whatever, then you would phone 112. And basically that's like the emergency number. That's like the I need help right now number. That's your 911. So something worth mentioning about the health system here is kids up to the age of 23, feels so weird saying 23 as kid, but up to the age of 23 have free medical as well as dental. So basically, so as an adult you're paying your 200 crown or whatever per day, per appointment, but for kids it's all, the medical and dental is completely free. And something that's really quite cool is they send you reminders in your post with an appointment date for a dental appointment, or you know, maybe some health check. So that's really cool. It's something I was quite blown away by when I got it. So my kids, shortly after we got here, once they had their personal numbers, I received a letter in the post. Oh, this day and time is when your kids can come and see the dentist. And we went, and it was lovely. You know, they asked the kids questions. They were just so nice, so good with the kids as well. I mean, my 4-year-old son was dead happy there. So yeah, they're really good health system. When it comes to dental, however, it may be, although it's free, and this is also braces and things like that, it's free for kids up until the age of 23. For adults, it is a little bit more expensive. So dental is more expensive than your health, your medical health stuff. So while it is expensive, you can expect to be reimbursed depending on how much you spend as well. So at least, you know, there's a bit of cover there, but just know that dental is not as well priced as the rest. So yeah, that basically covers how the health system works. You know, there's a lot I could still add into this, but just to keep it short and sweet, I'll leave it at that. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask in the comments. I will gladly answer what I can. A lot of this information is on AlvaQTQ's website, so that's 1177.se. So have a look there, and you should find a lot of the information you're looking for as well. Something that you will struggle with in the beginning is when you first come here, you won't have access to the website because you would need your personal number and bank ID. So a lot of that communication would need to take place by phone in the beginning. But hold tight, it will come. And our last topic for today is Forsakringskassan. When you come to Sweden, you'll be registered into the system, and you have now got your personal number and all those lovely things. Now you are part of the Swedish insurance system. Now I could talk about this for days because there is so much involved here, but I'm going to keep it short and sweet. The reason I'm mentioning this in particular is Forsakringskassan, if you have got children, as soon as you are registered in Sweden, you will pretty much get a letter from Forsakringskassan just getting some information from you, where you live, what your job is, what your income is, and how many children you have, what the ages are. That is something you can expect to get. Then what that does is you are automatically entitled to receive basically a child allowance here in Sweden. Now this is something I learned that was something I didn't know before I came here really. So you basically get an allowance per child, plus you get an allowance for having more than one child, for example. So all of this is covered under Forsakringskassan, as well as your parental leave and payments and things like that for when you have kids. So each parent is entitled to quite a substantial amount of leave when they have children, and you get paid for that. So yeah, do a little bit of reading on Forsakringskassan. It's quite interesting information, and if you are planning on moving to Sweden, it's something I would say you cannot not know. do your research there, because there's a lot involved there, some sick leave with kids and all sorts. So yeah, you can expect to get a child allowance, and it's actually pretty decent, and it's a nice little bit of extra for your kids. So yeah, that basically covers Forsakringskassan. Just a little tidbit there. Go check it out, quite handy. And I'm going to leave you there today, folks. Thanks for joining in, and we really appreciate your views and your comments, and thanks so much for subscribing, and we'll see you again sometime soon.